And that's how we saved Mayron. Unfortunately, we all died in the Feywild, but Nibbin, both you and Akbar survived, although it sucks that I'm a ghost now.
You see Ori sitting in a cell with a straitjacket on, recounting a clearly fictional story. Nibbin in the cell next to him shouts, "Shut the hell up, you psycho! Akbar's dead because of you!" The door to the cell block opens. A human version of Rhaegar in a security outfit walks in. "Today's the day, Captain. Let's hope the trial goes well. My dad loves to hear your stories when I get home." Along with Rhaegar are human versions of multiple other characters from Altera or Mehron. Serenity, Ragman, Trixie are all present in either an orderly or part of security. Rhaegar and company escort Ori out of his cell, into a car, and to the courthouse. This is a very important day for Ori. This trial will determine what consequences come from his recent outburst while, quote-unquote, fighting to stop the Reapers. He enters the courtroom to see Beckel waiting for him. He might not be the best attorney money can buy, but he fights for the people, the ones who can't fight for themselves. With him as co-counselor are Juan and Kronos. Ori hears the end of a conversation as he approaches. "Mr. Beckel, why are we keeping this case? We can't possibly..." Hello, Ori. You look well today."
Thanks. I made some eggs this morning. Here you go.
Ori picks his nose and hands Kronos some snot. No, thank you, sir. I should, focus on the case." Shortly after, the courtroom fills. It's almost like the final battle of Altera. So many familiar faces. Bailiff Dorikar Braveskull walks out. "All rise." The Honorable Judge Bordros presiding. A tall and commanding presence enters the courtroom.
Please be seated.
The case begins. Many witnesses come on stage to recount incidents that led up to this case. An unfamiliar voice is questioned regarding the execution of Akbar. In a delusional outburst, Ori decapitated the orderly Akbar, then proceeded to call Clyde, the orderly hired to replace the deceased, the same name as the victim. Clyde is horrified at what might happen to him. Many other stories are told painting an ugly picture of Ori. Him trying to ride his attorney like a horse. Ori tried to steal a car he named the Constellation in order to escape. There were multiple lizards found in his cell. Ori did show remorse for killing the creatures, stating that this changed the future and possibly ruined the wedding. Ori's daughter, Davrik, was too afraid to get on the stand. Her last encounter explained as a simple visit gone awry. Almost killed by Ori shouting at her for coming to Slaver's Den and to save the travelers. And finally, the incident that got him locked up in the first place. An innocent playdate between Davrik and Oskar, a friend from school. Ori snapped and tore up the place. Unfortunately, he wasn't stopped before the whole family was either gravely injured or unresponsive. After all is said, the jury has made their verdict. A concerned Balder stands.
Your Honor, we have come to a verdict.
Balder looks over at the rest of the jury. Passion, Zonos, Rill, Hingle McCringleberry, and the other jurors look at Balder in solidarity.
Your Honor, we find the defendant Ori von Oscar guilty on all charges.
Bordros looks at the defendant.
It is with a heavy heart to say this man is too dangerous. Even in a cell, he was able to do so much damage. I sentence Ori von Oscar to death by lethal injection. May God have mercy on your soul.
Ori and his attorneys leave the court, with Ori's future decided. As they leave, the next case is announced.
Next, we have the case of Desfang versus PepsiCo. Please step forward.
Fast forward to Ori's last day. He's strapped down and prepared for the injections. The first shot calms him down. The second leaves Ori unable to move, while the final does him in. With his last breath, Ori pleads.
My fortune is yours for the taking, but you have to find it first. I left everything everything I own in one piece.
His silence ends the tragedy that is Ori. And Ori may have had a tragic ending, but not all share the same fate. Rhaegar goes home to his bedridden father to tell the final story of Captain Ori. Tollus takes a sabbatical from being a physician at the asylum that Ori was held to join Doctors Without Borders. Raven sits silently in the bushes with a scope locked on the criminals that harmed her family, glad to be far away from the trial of Ori, her ex-husband. Thelma becomes sheriff of a small town miles away from the big city. Dez loses his case where he asks for millions for an employee leaving out the sour cream on his Crunchwrap Supreme. And Baldur and Zono spending the night as new friends, having their first game night. Sitting down to play a druid monk human and a sorcerer bard triton in a new game called Ooblets and Oozes.
Don't you forget about me.
Don't you
forget about me. The end.